What was the greatest pleasure you ever felt? Getting that piece of popcorn out of your teeth. Watching people enjoy food I cooked. It never gets old. Getting a job offer. Of your dream job. Days after rounds of interview and assessments. Wake-induced lucid dreaming and flying in said dream. Never felt anything more pleasurable before. This one is kind of gross FYI. I got surgery to fix a broken nose so I could breathe better. This involved having my nose packed with packing. Essentially tampons. For a few weeks. It wasn't the removal of the packing that was amazing. It was the first time I blew my nose shortly after. It felt like a 1/2 cup of mucus was pulled directly from my brain and there was a golf ball-sized result in the tissue. The best feeling I ever experienced was directly after that, where breathing through my nose was so incredibly easy I felt like a superhuman who conditioned in the Andes for months of something. I laughed with excitement. This is weird, but the day I decided 100% to quit my toxic, full-time job and retake my life even knowing I had no fallback, driving 2 hours from my girl's house with the windows down, on a summer night with a warm breeze tussling my hair like getting a head pat by an angel, spiritual state, by Nujaba's playing. This overwhelming feeling of sincerity and resolve took me over. Everything was on point. It wasn't a blast of pleasure you get when you do something cool like jumping off a 15-foot waterfall, but more of a glaze over of goodness and self-care, like my world opening up again. Sitting down for the first time after completing my first marathon. I swear that feeling was better than any orgasm. Sit almost made me cry. Had sinus surgery and removing the internal splints after about a week being clogged up was probably the best thing in the world. Getting my back scratched. The greatest non-sexual pleasure I've ever felt was 32 years ago. I was swimming with friends in the Pacific Ocean at Balboa Park in California. I got wiped out by a huge wave. My friends helped me out of the water, and I went and laid on the grass underneath palm trees looking up at the clear blue sky. A feeling of peace just washed over my body. I've never felt that kind of thing again. Edit. It was Newport Beach. Finishing a marathon. I trained for 3 months, and although a decent athlete already, I had never run more than 8 miles. I worked really hard to compete and ran the first 20 miles slightly faster than expected, 8:00 per mile. Before hitting the famous wall at mile 20, my speed dropped drastically but kept going without walking. As I approached the finish, I saw my GF and friends cheering me on as I pushed through the end and wept for 5 minutes from pure joy and pain. I get chills thinking back on it and have no idea if I'll feel it again should I train for another. Putting my feet on near my radiator after coming home from a cold day. Putting my sneakers back on after an evening at the roller rink. Yep, I know I dated myself. But that sit was the most amazing feeling a kid could legally have. Total footgasm. Probably when I began to go to the gym. The first day was very rough because I have never went to a gym before, so I was really tired. When I got home I just took a hot shower. I let myself fell into my bed and man, I fell asleep like in 5 seconds. Bro, I really slept well that night. The best sleep I've ever had. I had a small project go wrong. As I went to fix one part, a sub-part messed up, so I had to step back to work on that. Then a sub-part messed up. I took another step back. What I expected to take 20 minutes took 4-ish hours. But 5 hours in, I thought there was no way it would work out at all. When I got it all fixed, I did the Billy Madison, I am the smartest man alive. I've been riding that high for a few weeks now. ETA. I have to come clean here. This story is 100% true, but almost all comments have assumed I'm a programmer. I am not. The project I worked on was repairing a set of auto-retracting window blinds. I learned a lot about blinds that day. But I am not as cool as these people think I am. When my abuser was sentenced to 35 years in prison, no chance of parole. Hearing, "I love you," for the first time, unconditionally, after growing up in a house of abuse and trauma. I had a dream that I was a toaster. I woke with a feeling of anticipation. Then I made toast with pure concentration. Afterwards I was entirely fulfilled, having accomplished the ultimate purpose of my existence. No evidence of disease. Taking a sit in my own bathroom after a long vacation. When school's cancelled for the day and you're half asleep and overhear your mother tell your sister not to wake you up because school's out. Used to leave a smile on my face before snuggling back into my covers. The first time I was in the barrel of a wave while surfing. It was so loud and quiet at the same time. I think I could hear aliens talking to me. I was playing in a Pro-Am basketball game. Took a guy to the basket and scored on him. He was second-team All-NBA defensive the year before. I was twice his age and balding. The crowd went nuts and the DJ ripped him the rest of the game. Best feeling ever. Sorry, I was mistaken. He was second-team All-Rookie in 91 to 92. It was Mark Macon. not in intensity. But putting back a sock after brooches were removed in my foot. After 1 month of bandages and a special shoe to walk on your heel. Being able to walk with both feet level and in regular shoes was very surprising and awesome. Edit. Thank you for my first awards. This is a great pleasure too. Almost dying. I was drifting away, and it felt so good. Very scary. Can't pick out one, but here are a few. My first time shooting up morphine. Me getting rid of my addiction. 8 years clean now. All of my 3 kids being delivered. Becoming debt-free. Wild mix TBH. Probably when it rains whilst the fan is on and you're under the blankets. A cold shower when I was in a house with no air conditioning on a 107-degree day in Puyallup. Wah. Graduating college. I almost dropped out, but I'm glad I pushed through and worked hard to achieve my degree. A pretty rich schoolmate treated us to a fancy restaurant for their birthday and they served us lobster ravioli for a starter. I can't explain the frothy explosion of joy and palate pleasure as I ate something like that for the first time. I don't know if it was the lobster itself, or the sauce. No meal has ever come close to how good that was. I can still remember it vividly 12 years later. Silly. But that's it. Edit. I'm absolutely loving everyone sharing their food memories in this thread. Please keep them coming. Standing by a raging bonfire after I fell into a mountain stream in the dead of winter. Confessing my feelings to a longtime friend and having those feelings reciprocated. Walking out of prison and realizing I'm finally free. Getting my first paycheck after 4 years of juiced making enough. And a year of COVID out of work and getting a job that pay more than I've ever had experienced. Having just something else than a negative number at the end of the month for maybe the first time in 5 years. That. Probably the day we got the keys to our house, watching my wife cry because she never thought it would happen. Waking up and realizing there's no work, school today and going back to sleep. Landing my first kickflip. I'm pushing 40. And nothing in life has ever felt as satisfying as that first one. I was up for 38 hours. Then I crashed in my bed. I giggled like a child as I fell asleep. The school nurse doing her yearly lice checks by scratching our heads with her long nails. Getting to hold my micro-preemie son for the first time 4 weeks after his birth. It also happened to be my birthday that day. Farting and that stomachache just disappearing. Once had to work 33 hours straight doing snow removal. Afterwards went and had a deep tissue massage. Literally the beat feeling in my entire life. Edit. Wow, 2K upvotes? Never thought this would be my most upvoted comment. Thank you all for the love very much. Seeing all the surprisingly wholesome comments on an NSFW AskReddit post. My first poop after getting my appendix out. Didn't poop for 8 days and when I finally did it was fantastic. I still think about it and smile. Edit. Thank you for the awards, kind strangers. I'll be reliving this great poop all day now. My dad telling me that he is proud of me. When a multi-day vomit-inducing migraine finally lets go. I swear the brain gets flooded with good chemicals after that and you feel better than normal. The shower and bed after camping for 4 days at a music festival. Waking up and realizing I no longer have to work anymore. After consulting 3 high-powered attorneys about my fiancé's citizenship case, and being told they wouldn't take it BC it was impossible to win. I, a layperson, spent a week, night and day, studying the law and putting together 125 pages document, received in the mail that he won the case and got his citizenship in the US. Edit. Thank you for the support and awards. I'm not going to answer the PMs asking for legal advice or the ones threatening to try to dox me and get me charged with felonies. Immediately after giving birth, like right when she came out, all the pressure and heaviness in my stomach went away immediately and it was the best feeling. Going from being stretched out, bloated, with a baby pushing on your organs to totally empty was a huge relief to me. Edit. Yes, it is like taking a huge sit except 1000x more relieving. Also the superwoman feeling after is a close second to this feeling. Then the shower when you get home. The moment my sister came home from the hospital after almost dying. Getting my divorce decree in the mail. Realizing I'm no longer in love with someone who hurt me. Fentanyl. They gave it to me after a back surgery and I know understand why it's so dangerous, but DAYUUUM. I once had a massage where I could feel what I can only describe as strings of stress being pushed out of my back. I could actually feel these things being ungrouped and pushed out of my shoulder blades. I still try and get massages when I can but have never felt that since. It was a magical moment. First time my oldest son called me mama. He just waddled up to me and said it right in my face and waddled off again. Possibly the best moment of my life, not sure how it will be beaten. huge crush on this lady I worked with. Same company, but different locations, but we would see each other once or twice a week when our duties overlapped. I got the vibe that she was interested in me as well, but I never acted on it. There was a retirement party at a local bar, and she mentioned that she was going to be there. I nursed 2 beers for 3 hours on the chance she would show up, because I didn't want to be hammered like our colleagues. She arrives at 11:30, walks straight over to where we are sitting, and puts her arm around my waist. Boom. Been together for 16 years. Happy. I was 19 and in love. We would just sit in the nature and cuddle. It felt like being high. Landing in Maine, coming back from my first combat deployment. Never mind the fact that I completely forgot Maine was a state. It was glorious. Remembering the moment, I felt like I had finally got back on my feet after abruptly having to leave the military because of marital issues. Wife left me for another man and left me and my 4-year-old daughter to figure it out. I got out of the military with no plan and no job, and within 2 months I somehow managed to get a respectable salary job in a cute little 2-bedroom house on half an acre of land. I remember it was 1 a.m. and I was just finishing up putting up my surround sound in the new place, and I just took it all the way in. That was the moment. 6 on certain drugs may ruin normal 6 for a while. Tread carefully, kids. Orgasms in my 40s. As a woman, they were great before, but now they're mind-blowing. Husband is not upset by this development. Skinny dipping off the cliffs in the far outer Stockholm archipelago and sun drying afterwards. We were the only 2 people on that tiny island, and I was for the first and last time, so far, in my life, completely at peace and blissed out of my skull. Being loved for who I am. Proving someone wrong over the internet, of course. I was diagnosed with MS at age 17 after losing all large and fine motor skills and going completely numb in my entire body excluding the head and neck. I had to relearn everything and missed out on feeling hugs and physical touch for a few months, as well as simple things like walking and feeding myself. I was able to make a full recovery, and my best friend encouraged me to exceed what everyone expected of me. The greatest pleasure I ever felt was finishing my first half marathon less than a year after rehabbing. Never take anything for granted. Lovelies. Life is beautiful and you are loved. You can do anything. My girlfriend is mute, but her voice returns for very short periods of time. From what I'm guessing, 1 to 5 minutes to a time. She told me that she got her voice back, and I was extremely happy and asked her what she said. She said she just repeated my name, and I cried hearing this. Edit. Grammar. When you're on the toilet with nothing coming out, but you already took off your shirt and you're fighting for your life, but then there comes one long sit and the stomach cramps are just gone. Anesthesia sleep. Best sleep ever. Even when they are cutting up your sinuses. Sleeping. New bed sheets. Taking ice skates off after playing hockey for 2 hours and taking a puck in the foot a half hour after starting. I remember that when I was 13 or so, the first couple times that I masturbated were really intense. Like, my toes would curl up and my muscles would throb and contract like a bastard. After the first 10 or so times, it wasn't as intense and it wasn't that good ever again. Never felt that kind of pleasure again. Weird. Coming home from work and taking off my bra. Good frocking lord. Ladies, if you know, you know. When I was around 14, I was in amateur boxing. I had fought this other kid 2 times that year. We were the same age, but he was already a nationally ranked fighter and I had under 10 fights. Needless to say, he kicked my ass. And he was an absolute douche to top it off. 2 years later, it was down to him and me in our state tournament. And I beat the dogshit out of him. I had new white and black shirt and shorts, and they were covered in his blood. I'm pretty sure I broke his nose. I went to nationals that year. Felt like a rock star. The day my daughter was born, I was holding her in front of me, just sitting in a chair in the hospital staring at her. I have the most vivid memory of being so elated and overwhelmed by emotions that my body completely stopped automatic breathing. Every few seconds I would start to run out of air and gasp a little to catch my breath manually. I held her for what felt like an hour. This was years ago, and I can confidently say it was the best moment of my life. When I stumbled upon the idea that the only thing matters in life is that you're happy. Sounds dumb, but this idea is liberating. Yes, there has been so much buildup on this thought since then. 3 years. 3 frocking years. I finally got to see the end cutscene of Dark Souls I as a Dark Lord. Every time my daughter tells me, "I love you, Daddy." Girlfriend and I came at the same time. Working food service, paper route, and factory jobs all of my early adult life. Then I tested number 1 out of 179 candidates for a full-time firefighter job. Haven't had that. Frock me, I gotta go back to work tomorrow. Feeling in over 6 years. When I was 13 playing travel baseball, we were in our last tournament. Global World Series with like 70 teams. We were in the finals and we were down by 2 in the bottom of the 8th, which was extra innings. I hit a walk-off home run on a 0-2 count. To add to all of it, it was July 4th, and when I started running the bases, the amphitheater that was in the background of our field was shooting off their fireworks, and I actually felt like the coolest person ever. Last week when I started doing my tests for qualification for the kidney transplant list, and finding out that not only will my insurance cover the $80,000 minus $125,000 cost, but that the 5-ish years of hemodialysis will carry over as time served, and I won't be starting off at the bottom of the list. My GFR is 11, end stage is 15. So it really couldn't have come at a better time. I am literally dying. Waking up in a new home with my besties and realizing my ex will never hurt me again. When they gave me morphine and several bags of fluid to flush out a kidney stone, the instant relief combined with the morphine euphoria, sweet baby Jesus. Edit. My highest upvoted Reddit ever. One sentence about dope and kidney stones. Thanks for coming through for me, internet. Meeting my first girlfriend in person for the first time since we'd officially started dating, and learning that I'd been touch-starved my entire life. Hanging out with her and being able to just casually, not even sexually, touch her was so eye-opening and wonderful. It sounds simple and stupid. But not knowing how much you appreciate even basic physical contact and suddenly being able to just hug or put your arm around someone without it being weird is incredible. Almost hurts to remember it honestly. But New Year's Eve 2007 or 2008 I believe. I was in college. I was in love. Me and my girl made love in the evening, smoked a bowl, drove downtown, got good parking, walked right into a party, did the countdown, danced, hit up the after party and danced some more. I remember thinking on the dance floor, there is no other place I'd rather be in the world. Reminded me of George Carlin. I was both fine and dandy at the same time. Showering in hot water. Japan. Going to the onsen. My 100% best day was roam around a snowy Hokkaido onsen town with my then GF, soon-to-be wife. Dip in the hot springs after. Have some six. Dip again. Eat a full-course meal and then top it off with a small handmade ice cream. I think that was closest to nirvana I've ever been. Spending the night with my first love for the first time. No sex was had, but so much kissing and cuddling. Even better. Not kidding. The first kiss, and I am a man. I was really shy until that point, but my confidence grew from that moment. About 6 months into doing Ashtanga yoga, I started having these insane orgasms. The first few times, they were so intense I was almost afraid. Then I figured out this trick of trying to focus on what the rest of my body was feeling mid-climax instead of just focusing on my dig. Anyway, if any of you need motivation to get into yoga, just think you can start coming so hard you're afraid your cock opened up a wormhole to hell. Falling in love with the BF. I can clearly recall the moment when it happened. Laying on my stomach after being pregnant. When I saw my oxygen levels at 95% post-COVID. My dad was never one to express his pride. Occasionally. He didn't have to. Dad, so. This job. How big is your team? Me, just 3 people. Dad, but you're supporting software that's everywhere in the company. Right? Me, yeah. Dad, so what about the people in other countries? Mia, no. I'm the guy. The one guy at this company of tens of thousands of people that is the subject matter expert. I'm the guy that supports these couple 100,000 devices. Dad, so. Wait. You're the guy. Dad went wide-eyed and smiled a little bit. It was at that exact moment of time that my dad realized that I really was good at my job. I'll remember that feeling for the rest of my life. Also, managing a bigger team now, so I got my work-life balance back. Having a poo after being constipated for 4 days. Having a girl tell me she liked me. Getting my back cracked by a chiropractor. The relief I felt is incomparable to anything else. First time when I did coke. I think it was my 3rd or 4th line of coke. It was the first time my mind stopped frocking with me. And I felt a complete silence that I never felt before. I felt invincible for a brief moment. Waking up feeling rested and ready for the day. Amazing how rare that is. Reaching over to grab the remote and cracking my back in such a way so as to correct a slipped disc immediately. The glass of champagne I had at the top of the Eiffel Tower. It was much deserved and a symbol of how far I'd come and how much I'd healed from past things. The unexplained euphoria I experience out of nowhere every few months for about an hour. I have talked to my doctor. He doesn't see it as an issue. My entire leg was covered in poison ivy. Then I found out how good hot shower water felt spraying directly on the bumps. Lovely. I was intubated for a month because of a motorcycle accident, no food of any kind. When they took out the tube, They gave me a cup of chicken broth, no chicken, just salt and chicken flavor, and it was the best meal I ever ate. Maybe not greatest, but I grew a bunch of flowers in my garden this year, for the bees, and overheard a girl FaceTiming with her friend talking about how much she loves my garden and was showing off all the flowers that have bloomed. That felt pretty damn good. Me 13 years old, school gave out condoms for health class. Got home, played Halo 2, got bored, saw the condom, tried it on out of curiosity, immediately blew my first load, spent 3 months trying to figure out how to do that again. Nothing will ever top that. Telling my boyfriend I love him after stopping myself cause I thought it was too soon and I thought he wouldn't say it back. I remember the exact moment. It was a rush of relief. We were halfway through getting it on and I said I love you. And he said it back. I cried a little and it was the most beautiful moment of my entire life. Raised my GPA by a whole point after a rough transition to online classes and got accepted into the university I wanted to go to. Beating just one of the Valkyrie bosses in God of War. Biggest middle finger I've ever given after beating it. When I got to hang up on somebody who didn't think I would really do. I'm typically an overly nice person and try not to upset people, but they pushed me over the top and they knew. They said, "You really want to hang up on me, don't you?" Yes, I really do. "You won't do it." Click. I was 14 at the time. Really set a precedent for me. Discovering masturbation, the gift that keeps on giving. My first kiss is up there. I was 17. It was summer. The weather was hot but not unbearable. We sat on a place high up with an amazing view, under a tree. It was dark and you could see all the stars. I was so stressed about it. She smiled at me, then cupped my face and kissed me. It was slow, wet and passionate. It was sweet and sexy and warm, and other words that probably will never do it justice.